Hello again, everyone. This is Professor Reimer. This is video 2 for our lesson on the Reformation. Remember, we are explaining the causes and impact of the Reformation by creating an acrostic poem using the word Reformation. We stopped last time talking about Martin Luther, so let's pick up and say a few more words about him. But first, remember, what role did he play? Pause the video, check your notes, write it down. All right, did you get it? He played a key role. He's the founder. He's the starter of this Reformation. All right, so as he was studying the Bible, he became convinced that salvation could not be achieved by good works and sacraments. Remember, that is what the Roman Catholic Church was teaching at the time. Remember, he's a monk in the Roman Catholic Church. He argued, he believed that salvation, getting to heaven, was gained through having faith in God. Only faith in God, nothing else, right? Salvation by faith alone, justification by faith is what he called it. He also was deeply troubled by the church's selling of indulgences. He saw it as a false salvation. Side note, last time when we studied the Renaissance, we looked at St. Peter's Basilica, the dome in Rome, the church in Rome. The money to build that church was raised through the selling of indulgences as one of the ways, right? And this is happening in the 15th century, so just before Luther's time. All right, so in 1517, right, he posts these ideas, right? He had 95 of them on the castle door, supposedly at the castle of Wittenberg, 1517, right? By 1521, he's called before a special council, a diet of Worms at the city of Worms, and there he was told, "Hey, take back your teachings." Remember, he began just wanting to reform, right? But by this time, the church says, "We're not adopting those ideas. Take them back." He refused. He argued the Bible is the only source of religious authority, sola scriptura in Latin, right? So faith alone for salvation. Only the Bible is the source of religious authority. This is a serious threat to the Roman Catholic Church and its leadership. As a result of these beliefs, and at this council, or this diet, I should say, he's excommunicated, right? He's kicked out of the church. He's declared essentially not a Christian. But that did not stop his movement, right? He started a brand new church known as the Lutheran Church, or a movement, a denomination known as Lutheranism, right? You see it there as one of the churches under this Protestant umbrella. As you see there are many more. I've lost count, hundreds today. All right, like I said, first of a series of Protestant Christian faiths that broke from the Catholic Church. So notice they're not breaking from the Orthodox Church. The Orthodox Church and the Roman Church had separated centuries before. This is a primarily Western Europe phenomenon. All right, now let's talk about some of these key impacts of the Protestant Reformation. You see here a map of Europe in 1560. Remember in the first video I said if you looked at a map of Europe in, let's say, the 13th century, there would just been one church, right? The Roman Catholic Church. Now, if you look at it, there are many different kinds of churches, right? You still have the Roman Catholic Church dominant in Spain, France, Italy, but also you start to see some Protestant areas, especially in the German states. That's the orange, that's Lutheran. You also start to see different Protestant churches like the Church of England, right? You start to see the Presbyterian Church. You start to see Calvinist Church. All right. So one of the key political impacts is that Europe became politically fragmented along religious lines, and this is after some major wars, as these various leaders chose a religion and then went to war against their neighbors, right? Like I said, Spain and France, predominantly Catholic. England becomes Anglican, or the official name of the church is the Church of England. And the Holy Roman Empire, some of it became Lutheran. And as a result of those wars, it really began to weaken. All right, so more key impacts, political impacts, right? Henry VIII, right? He broke with the Pope. He wanted to divorce his wife so he could marry his girlfriend who was pregnant with their child. It's a long story, not for this class. So he becomes head of the Church of England, or the Anglican Church, right? there were many in England that wanted to stay with the Roman Church, so there became a civil war in England. Also, John Calvin establishes a theocratic, that is a government of which the rulers are religious leaders. Right? He believed that government and religion should be interrelated. Now, the last key political impact is that the state, instead of the church, became the more dominant political power. In other words, people looked more to the state to answer to instead of to the church. All right. Also, this new theology of the Protestant Reformation, that individuals didn't need the church. Remember, Luther had argued that only the Bible was needed, that the Bible was a source of religious authority, which meant that the church was not there to be an intermediary, right? To go between God and man. Individuals could have direct relations, didn't need all the sacraments. So thus, you see here the inklings of these democratic ideas that are going to expand in future centuries. As we've already said, religious unity shattered, right? No longer is there going to be just one church of Western Europe. It's going to be forever separated between Protestant churches and Catholic churches. Also, another key religious impact is because Protestant churches stress so much the Bible as the authority, then people needed to read it in order to know what it said, and thus it had to be translated into their own language instead of Latin. And so you start to see the first English translations of the Bible, for example, in the 16th and then 17th century. Also, its role on the individual really challenged the church's teachings on the need for priests. In fact, in some Protestant churches, there's no priest at all, right? It's just either a group of elders or someone nominates that person to be the leader. And sadly, as a result of this religious conflict, many Christians are persecuted, many are killed in this fighting over which is the right church. All right. The Catholic Church, by the way, did not just sit idly by and let its authority and power diminish. It responded in what's known as the Catholic Counter-Reformation, or just the Catholic Reformation. And over a series of years, they reformed their church, not in the way that Luther wanted, but in a very significant way. So, number one, a new religious order was created. They are called or known as the Jesuits. Right? They took a very special vow of absolute obedience to the Pope, and they spread the Roman Catholic Church and its teachings through education. In fact, a lot of schools, even today in this area, are called the Jesuit schools. Right? Jesuits founded schools all over, and by all over, this is also the time of the colonization of the Americas by the Europeans. And so Jesuits are going to go there and establish churches. The papacy is reformed, right? The Pope was removed from getting involved in the politics and wars of Italy. And lastly, at the Council of Trent, the church leaders reaffirmed traditional Catholic teachings. They became conservative. They said, they looked at these new theologies of the Protestant church and said, nope, that's not us. This is what we stand for. Though they did cut back on the selling of indulgences. However, their authority, especially their political authority, does decline as a result of the Reformation. All right, I'm not gonna read all of this slide, but you could pause it if you really were interested in the different kinds of beliefs of the Roman Catholic Church as well as some of the Protestant churches. So if you want, pause, check it out, but I'm going to move on. All right, there's some intellectual impact, very key intellectual impact, and it's related to the printing press I talked about in the other video, right? It's helping to spread these religious ideas to different parts of Europe. People can read what people like John Calvin and Martin Luther are writing, and they can read it quite quickly from the time that they first published it, right? And it feeds into this idea we talked about last time in the Renaissance, the idea of developing human potential, right? So now you can read, and so this beginnings of an individual idea takes root You can make a better life for yourself here on earth instead of just waiting for your life in heaven for all eternity in the next life. Right? To read all of this, right, meant you had to expand opportunities, not just for men, but also for women. Lastly, there's an artistic impact. Remember, this is the time of the Renaissance, right? You start to see Reformation ideas in paintings, right? This emphasis on the individual's personal relationship with God meant that the subjects of paintings became more common people, more day-to-day scenes, less scenes from the Bible, less scenes of Christ, right? Definitely not saints, which the Protestant churches didn't recognize or didn't venerate like the Roman Catholic Church. Scenes from the Bible were the preferred subjects of paintings for the Northern Renaissance. And you see here a wedding portrait by a Dutch painter, Jean van Eyck, right? Husband and wife, man and woman for their wedding, right? Common everyday scene. All right, to our processing activity. Like the Renaissance activity, you're going to create a acrostic poem using this term, Reformation. Don't do the Renaissance again. You've already done that. Again, oh, see, there's me. I forgot. There's a typo there. I forgot to change Renaissance. I just copied the slide. I was trying to be quick. No, you're doing the Reformation. But again, you want to do the political, intellectual, artistic, economic, and religious impact. Those are the last slides we're just talking about, not the context or the causes, right? Well, I want you to tell me about the impact of the Reformation. And if you don't remember, right, you write the word Reformation vertically, and then each letter needs to describe or explain one of those impacts. And I thought I would end sharing a great example I got from a student about the Reformation. So I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to talk about what I really liked about it. All right. Number one, she used the ideas or the phrases that I gave, right? Rebirth and trade, learning, and Greco-Roman ideas. Excellent, describing the Renaissance. E, expressing hope for more than kings. It's a little vague, but it is getting this idea, right, of human potential. I like how creative she was there. New idea of humanism focused attention on individuals. And look what she did here. The next line, she used and for the A. This is genius. And benefiting for those who are confident to please. Though this, I was really confused about that. So try, when you're creating your phrases, they need to be from your notes, right? I need to see that you understand the impact, in this case, of the Renaissance and in today's assignment of the Reformation. I really like the I, though. Italy was the country in which the Renaissance began. Great. Such as sculptures, architect high. It's a little wonky in the phrase, but she's getting at the idea that there were these increase in new sculptures. So much embracing challenges. Again, kind of vague. Make more specific references to the actual history. Like this. Athens and Rome provide models in politics and arts. Great. That was great. New land and treasure stimulate the ancient text. Yes. Yes, that's really good. See, even better, classic Greek authors were rediscovered, and this is my favorite. This is a fantastic verb that she used. Emulate the Greek and Roman eras. Oh, that was so good. So take away from this, when you're making your phrases, make them as detailed and specific as you can from your notes, because I want to see that you understand the impact of the Reformation, and I want to see a little creativity. Have some fun with this, guys. I'll see you in the Google Meet.